Hey everybody, this is Jack Hammer of the Santa Rosa Press Democrat reporting live from Levi Stadium after day 6 of 49ers training camp. I want to get in here a little bit and give you a breakdown of what we saw today on the field. It was another interesting day for the 49ers offense. They are really struggling right now. They don't have very much rhythm at all. If you saw my show last night with Rob, you heard my comment about that. They are really struggling to get any kind of a rhythm going. Today we got to see the first bit of a move the ball period. I'll get into that as we go through. I want to just shout a couple of folks out really quick as we get started. We have Bryant Culp, who is a member of the Toolbox. That's what that little symbol is next to his name. So thank you very much, Bryant. He says, everyone hit that like button. And then we have Lucas says, let's go, Jack. You are the best. Thank you very much, Lucas. I appreciate the positivity as we get started on the show today. Let's start off with Trey Lance. It was a hot start today for Lance. Heck, it was hot out here, period, today. One of the hotter days. You could feel the heat early on, and it kind of carried through, and I think that led to some of what happened today on the field. But in terms of Trey Lance, definitely a hot start for him. You know, I've mentioned this a couple times in the past that the 49ers do a couple of different team periods. They do a team session, they take a break for special teams, and they come back into a second half of a team group session. And today, Lance started off hot. He completed 6 of 8 attempts during that first team period. One of those was a really nice pass to Brandon Ayuk down the middle for a really good gain. That was on his first throw of the team period. A little bit later, Lance was able to throw down the middle to George Kittle. That one's a little bit different. Instead of like on the throw to Ayuk could run a curl, so it was a nice easy shot over the middle to him. When it comes to the Kittle throw, Kittle's running a seam. Lance does a really good job of getting the ball out of his hands on time with good anticipation. It wasn't right. It was a little low, but that was good. It actually protects Kittle from getting hit going over the middle. He was able to get down and scoop the ball up. What was really noticeable about that was you could see the ball come out, and you could see Kittle doesn't even get his head turned around until the ball's almost there, and then he still had to make that adjustment. So really nice play down the middle from Lance to Kittle there, as well as the one to Ayuk that opened it up. And then during the second session, after the break, they came back, and Lance ripped a dart into Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel was running an in route from left to right, and Lance was able just to zip it in there and zip it in between 3 49ers defenders. Once Samuel caught the ball, there was nobody around him, and he was going to be taking it to the house. He got past the safety that was there, and it would have been a touchdown. So it was one of those throws, reminiscent to what we saw last year with the way Samuel catches those balls in tight spaces over the middle. That's what this one was. It was a really nice ball, just really ripped in there. Lance had good protection on that throw, and he was able to get it in there. I had mentioned that they had a little bit of a move the ball period today. That happened at the end right at the end of practice. Actually, it looked like practice. We thought practice was over with. People started to walk away, but then we realized that there was still about 15 minutes left, and they were going to do a move the ball period. They actually only did about 10 minutes of it. The starting offense actually did a good job. I mentioned about how the offense has been. It looked like it's kind of been out of sync and out of rhythm, but during that short move the ball period, they actually moved the ball. They had a nice run, open it up from Trey Sermon. He picked up about 6-7 yards, set up a 3rd and 3 situation somewhere around there. And then there was a false start. It was going to be 3rd and 3. There was a false start on Spencer Burford, backed them up, forced them into a 3rd and 8 situation. And at 3rd and 8, Lance dropped back, and he was able to find Ayuk on an in-breaking route for a completion that moved the sticks. And then on first down, there was some pressure. Lance had to throw the ball away, setting up 2nd and 10. On that 2nd and 10 throw, though, Lance hits Ayuk on a quick out route to the left side. It would have set up a 3rd and short, probably about 3rd and 3, right in that range. But for whatever reason, they decided to pull the starting unit off the field, so we didn't get to see that drive finish. But at least we got to see him run some plays in succession, kind of move the ball. You got to see him get it, move the sticks, and start what kind of would have been a little bit of a drive. So that's the one thing, when you watch practice out here, you don't, when you're watching, you say there's not rhythm and that kind of stuff, but you're not really getting to see what it's going to be like in a game situation because they're breaking things up in all these different little segments. So that move the ball situation was nice to see them actually do that today. In all, Lance finished up his day 10 of 17 throwing. Like I said, he was 6 of 18 in the first half of practice. A little bit of a struggle the second half. A lot more pressure around him. There were some sacks and some throwaways and things like that that really kind of forced him to have some struggles there. But also we got to see Lance use his legs again. There was before the move the ball period, they were working on some short, like 3rd and 5, 3rd and 8 situations and things like that. And we saw Lance get pressured on one of those and be able to rip off a nice gain for about 15 yards at least. He was able to move around in the pocket, get by a couple of folks, and it looked like it was going to be a really nice gain. But it would have been a significant game. I wrote down on my notes about 16 yards. So pretty good day overall for Lance. A good start, kind of a little bit of a lull, but then a good finish for him as they finished that out. And then in terms of the some of the other notable things today was with Brandon Ayuk and Fred Warner. It was a like I said, it was a hot one out here. It was intense, and it was definitely a day for fighting as those two mixed it up a few times today. We saw Fred Warner and Fred Warner and Brandon Ayuk have been talking to each other quite a bit throughout the beginning portion of this offseason, their training camp, excuse me. And today it kind of boiled over. After that first completion from Lance to Ayuk, Warner got a shot on Ayuk, knocked him down. And as everybody kind of started head back to the huddle, those two started jawing. Next thing you know, they're on the ground wrestling. So they're not happy with each other. Then that carried on. A few plays later, there was a completion to Marcus Johnson running a crossing route where Fred Warner knocked him down. Brandon Ayuk took exception to that, came out, put his hands up on to fight with Fred Warner, and then a big melee ensued, and there was guys all over the field. It was quite the scene today out at training camp with guys, kind of getting frustrated with each other and wanting to put an end to some of the trash talking and the physicality of practice today. It was a little bit of a rough one for them. Another thing that took place today, like I said, Trey Sermon had some really nice runs. That was a positive. Deebo Samuel, the 49ers are bringing him back, into the fold slowly. He missed all the offseason workouts. He's getting his way back into it now, and he was out there today. He had a few nice receptions. It started off with a completion from Nate Sudfeld on a crossing route. Sudfeld hit him over the middle of the field for a nice gain, but we got to see him make some really nice plays with the 49ers. The first one with Trey Lance, excuse me. The first one, if you remember back to the Chicago Bear game, that little tunnel screen that they ran to the left side and then he broke it off for a touchdown, really kind of saved the Niners season with that big play. We got to see that on the field today. They ran a little tunnel screen out to the left side. Deebo had to jump up. He catches it. A couple good blocks, but he's able to split them and take it up the field for a really nice gain. And then also, as I mentioned, the one earlier that I talked about where he split the three defenders across the middle. So Deebo Samuel, they're bringing him along slowly, like I said, but at the same time, he's performing really well. He's been strong at practice. Let's see, some of the other things as far as the offensive line goes, that's definitely an area that people have been talking about quite a bit this offseason and throughout the beginning of training camp. Still a bit of work in progress. Mike McGlinchey did not practice today, which meant that Jalen Moore was in at the starting spot at right tackle. Next to him is still Spencer Burford. Spencer Burford's taken all of the reps at right guard with the 49ers starting offensive unit. Did it again today. In today's practice, Burford, we got to see the 49ers offensive line do their one-on-ones against the defensive line for the first time in practice. It was the first time that's taken place, and it was an impressive session for Spencer Burford. He went up against Charles Amenahu, beat him twice, won those reps, I should say. He went up against Kevin Givens, won that rep, and he went up against one other defensive lineman whose name is escaping me at the moment. But Burford had 4 reps in those one-on-ones today, won all of them, looked really good. And like I said, Spencer Burford, the rookie 4th-round draft pick, he's taken all of the reps at right guard for the 49ers this offseason. So that's really positive and a good sign of things to come for the 49ers offensive line. And then next to him today, like I said, with Mike McGlinchey out, you had Jalen Moore. Jalen Moore, he did okay during the one-on-ones, but he's really struggling right now at right tackle. When they put him out at right tackle, he's struggling quite a bit. Guys getting around him on a regular basis. He's routinely, getting beat on a fairly regular basis out there. So he's much better in there at the guard. If Mike McGlinchey's not able to stay healthy for 17 games, the 49ers are going to struggle with Jalen Moore out at right tackle. There's a reason why. You're starting to see the reason why last year when McGlinchey went down, they started off with Jalen Moore at right tackle, but then they quickly switched to Tom Compton and stuck with him the rest of the year from the second half of the Jaguars game on. And you can kind of start to see why he's really struggling out there at right tackle. So that's a little bit of a concern. And the other offensive lineman though that stood out today, on a positive note, Jalen Moore was a little bit of a negative. On a positive note was Colton McKivitz. Colton McKivitz did a really good job today during the one-on-one reps with the defensive line. He won his first 4 matchups on the day. He was going up against a bunch of the starting defensive linemen too while going through those. And then he finally lost his last one. He went through 5 total, won his first 4, was able to protect the quarterback on the first 4 before getting beat on the last rep. So overall, Colton McKivitz looked pretty good today during that session. During the team portion, obviously Trent Williams is starting over at left tackle, and he ran for most of the plays today. There was a couple at the end where he stepped out, and McKivitz took his place. McKivitz struggled a little bit in that, got beat for a sack on one play there. But as far as backups go, McKivitz is a solid backup for this group right now. And I think you have to, the other note along the offensive line today is Daniel Brunskill. Brunskill was kind of penciled in by most as to be the starting right guard. The 49ers know what he can do at right guard, but they've been giving him snaps at center. He'd been kind of rotating back in and out with Jake Brendel there at the center spot. Today, Daniel Brunskill stepped into the starting lineup and took the reps with the starters at center for the first time in practice, and for the most part did okay. The offensive line still a work in progress. There's been a lot of mixing and matching along that group, and they need to step that up a little bit. There's only so much moving around that Trey Lance can do without it starting to break down the rest of the offense. You don't want to see Trey Lance having to scramble play after play after play. And so right now the offensive line is holding their own some, and they're losing some. I'd say they're probably losing as many as they're winning, at least in today's practice. I think last practice that I was here on Saturday was a little bit more towards the offensive line doing well, but today was definitely a struggle, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. Would like to touch base also on Dre Greenlaw. I think Dre Greenlaw is a guy who had a good practice today. Greenlaw has come out here and been strong all throughout practice, throughout camp, I should say. Made some really good plays today. The big one was the 49ers sent him on a blitz up the middle, and he was able to get his hand. He was able to break through the offensive line, get his hands up, and bat down a throw from Trey Lance. It was going to be I think he was trying to get the ball to Kyle Juszczyk on a check down, and Greenlaw was able to get his hands up and knock the ball away. So a really nice play there for Dre Greenlaw. Let's talk a little bit about the wide receivers. I know we talked about the fight with Brandon Ayuk and Fred Warner. We talked about Deebo Samuel already. But Brandon Ayuk, aside from the fight, he had another solid day today. He had a number of good catches. I think he had 4 total that I counted. So it was a solid performance there. Continues to match up well with Trey Lance, and he's doing a good job in terms of the receptions. So he's been keeping it up. Juwan Jennings had a little bit of a rough day today. He was only targeted twice. 2 targets for Juwan Jennings. Didn't catch either of them, and one of them was actually Quantrez Knight, the undrafted rookie free agent, was lined up with him in the slot, and he was right there with him. Jennings was running an in-breaking route. Knight was right on top of him and was able to reach around and knock the ball down on the throw from Nate Sudfeld. So Jennings had a little bit of a rough day today. Didn't get very many targets. And when he was targeted the ball, he wasn't able to get all those in. What else have we got? We have Danny Gray Jr. We got to make sure that if we're talking wide receivers, we need to talk about Danny Gray Jr. The rookie had a really good day today. Danny Gray was solid all throughout. He had a couple of nice catches across the middle. That was the good part for Danny Gray today. The first part of it was he was able to show off his toughness with those routes across the middle. The first time the first one was just a little crossing route from left to right where he was able to get it and move the ball. Sorry guys, I'm trying to hold on a second. I got to try to fix something with this. Sorry guys. Gotta get rid of this guy. But yeah, when it comes to Danny Gray, he had a solid performance today overall. A couple of really nice receptions going over the middle. One of them was just like an underneath route going from left to right. But we got to see him, get going, catch that thing, use his speed to take it upfield, pull in some positive yardage, and then really he had two really nice plays on the sideline. But I think the biggest one was, as I said, he was able to show off his toughness. It was a deep in route. He was able to, the ball was high. Nate Sudfeld got through the ball up a little high in the air there, wasn't on target, and Gray didn't hesitate to get up and go snag that ball, take a hit from safety George Odom, and come down with it for a nice gain. So, being able to see Gray show off his toughness, he's been really struggling, through the first part of camp, and I talked about it on earlier this week on Saturday, I believe it was, about him not getting off the line of scrimmage very well, and just not looking very good. Them trying to get the ball deep to him and not being able to do it. And so the nice route over the middle showed off his toughness, but you did see his speed a couple of times today. 2 times, once down the left sideline, once down the right side. Nate Sudfeld was able to put up a deep balls, go routes down the left sideline and the right sideline to Danny Gray that he was able to haul in for big completions. So it had been, like I said, it had been a bit of a rough start for Gray to camp, but he was really able to turn it on today, had a really good practice, and we'll see if it continues on throughout training camp. But it was definitely a positive for Gray today. We'll see how that progresses moving forward. Really quick, I have a question here I want to hit up from Ricardo Garcia. He says, "Hey Jack, what's the best O-line combo you have seen so far in this camp?" The best group that they have right now is when they get Trent Williams out there along with Michael Lynchie to bookend, and then they have Spencer Burford at left guard, at right guard. He's solid. I tell you, that guy, when it comes to pass protection, he's very solid. Left guard is Aaron Banks. He's a little bit more hit and miss. He's been pretty solid during the team stuff, but he is, you're seeing him work his way through some things. And then at center, I don't know. It's a toss-up between Brendel and Brunskill at the moment. Doesn't really seem like the offense does any better with either one of them. It seems like it's pretty similar with both of those guys. So it's just a situation where I think that would, the center position I think is going to be Daniel Brunskill at the end of the day. And I think that the 49ers, once they get that and they're able to wrap it up over and over again, that's going to help out that offensive line. Definitely need to step up because the defense is winning way too often. Makina says, why does it look like Sudfeld has the best arm? Probably because he's throwing the ball down the field the most. It's interesting because Trey Lance has been successful with some deep throws. He's done a really good job on some deep balls. At times he's not been given the time to be able to get the ball out on those. But I don't think Nate Sudfeld has the best arm. I think that's definitely Trey Lance. It's just Sudfeld's been able to take some more of those shots at this point. So keep an eye on that. But I think Lance is going to be fine. I think the Flyers offense is going to be fine. It's just going to take them a little bit of time to all come together here. And then Lucas brings me to my next topic. He says, "What did you see from Tyrion Davis-Price and Trey Sermon today, and how did Aaron Banks look?" Well, let's talk a little bit about Tyrion Davis-Price, because I've been talking about, we didn't really see much from TDP during the offseason. It wasn't until this is the guy who was brought in because of his size, his physicality, and all those kind of things, and we didn't really see him. We saw him during rookie minicamp for one practice. I think he was here for one day of OTAs, or a portion of it, but then we didn't see him again until training camp started up. And today was my first day of being able to see Tyrion Davis-Price in pads. And here's what I'll say. He looked powerful. You could, when you're out at training camp, they have the DJ playing and the music is loud, and it's just extremely noisy along the sidelines because of the music that's being pumped in, and then you also have the crowd behind you. But you could actually hear a couple of runs today. You could hear the shoulder pads popping when Tyrion Davis-Price would run into defenders. There was an audible noise that you could hear on the sidelines of those pads thumping against each other. And if the Friars are able to give this guy any room, if Davis-Price is able to get anything where he's able to get ahead of steam running, watch out. He ran over guys left and right today. I think it was Dante Johnson at one point today who was playing at nickel, and he just ran him over and crushed him. So really good day for Tyrion Davis-Price. Trey Sermon got a lot of carries today as well. Had a couple of nice carries, like I said, when they went to the move the ball period. He was the back in there that started off that. They ran what looked to be like a zone to the left. He did a really good job planting his foot, cut back to the right. Saw the hole, cut back to the right, and he gained about 7 yards, 6-7 yards. It was a really nice run to start to open that up. So overall, I think both those guys look good. Didn't really see a whole lot of Elijah Mitchell today. That was the question that Jeremy asked up here a few minutes ago. Jeremy, with the super chat, came in. I apologize for not getting to you sooner, Jeremy. Thank you for that super chat. He asked how Eli Missile looked, and I think he meant Elijah Mitchell, but maybe he meant the missile because maybe that's the way that he plays. But Mitchell's looking solid. I just didn't see a whole lot of him today. There wasn't a lot of room to run on some of his carries, but he had looked good throughout practice. It just throughout training camp. Today just wasn't a day that they really featured him a whole lot. They were giving the ball more to Tyrion Davis-Price and Trey Sermon with the ones today. Thank you, Jeremy. Good to see you. It's been a while. And then as far as the Jordan Mason hype being real, it's interesting when it comes to Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason's a guy who I love the way he runs the ball. He's a fast guy, but not only is he fast, he's tough, he's strong, and he just runs low. Like on one of the runs today, I even wrote in my notes how he's got the power, but he's also running with a low center of gravity. There's not a whole lot of area to hit with him. So it's going to be interesting to see how. I'm looking forward to watching Jordan Mason run when it gets to the preseason games, and watch him running, with guys coming after him to tackle him, and how he's able to handle that, because he's looked solid. I don't know if he has enough to be able to crack this rotation with Trey Sermon and the group that they have in front of him. But if you'd asked me, at this point a year ago, about I probably would have said the same thing with Elijah Mitchell, that Elijah Mitchell was really a guy that was catching my eye, but I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to make the team just because of the depth at the running back spot. So it'll be, he doesn't. They're doing a really good job. They have some really good backs. The offensive line's got to give them a little bit of better running room. And then Brandon says, "Hey, glad I finally caught this live. I love your recaps, Jack." Hey, Brandon, it's great to have you on. Great. I'm happy that you're able to catch it live. A couple more things I want to hit on before we wrap up the show today. I gave Danny Gray his props. Colton McKivitz and Javon Kinlaw was back today. Kinlaw did not practice yesterday. He had a rest day yesterday. He's coming back from that knee surgery, so they're giving him some time. But he's looked explosive. He's looked powerful. Today, during team drills, early on, there was one play in which he was able to get through, put some pressure on Trey Lance. It was a completion. I don't know if it would have been a sack in a game situation. It wasn't that clear to me. But Javon Kinlaw has looked really good. He looks big, he looks explosive, and he looks like he's solid. And it's just all about that knee holding up for him. And if he can do that and play at full strength, you got to watch out for Javon Kinlaw. And that's the same goes for the guy next to him, Kevin Givens. Kevin Givens has been worked alongside Kinlaw today with the starting defense on the first play from scrimmage. He just completely blew it up. It was a run play. Givens was able to break through, and he was there. He grabbed the running back, let him go. But it would have been a tackle for a loss, a big tackle for a loss on the opening play. Givens is a guy who, he's kind of in the back end of that rotation, but he's a solid player. And with all the injuries they've had along the defensive front right now, Kevin Givens and Javon Kinlaw, those were your two inside guys today. Eric Armstead given another day off today. Talked a little bit about run skill. One other thing I got to talk about too. Ambry Thomas. Ambry Thomas got a lot of run last year as a rookie, and he's really been struggling throughout training camp. Ambry Thomas struggled last year with the deep ball. That's partly why the 49ers played so much soft defense on the back end. And today just got toasted twice on deep routes by Danny Gray. Danny Gray had been struggling with the deep route, and today he was able to get two big ones, both of them over Ambry Thomas, and Thomas wasn't even close either time. So the second-year corner is definitely scuffling along right now. We'll see how it works out for him. But it's some really nice plays by Danny Gray and a couple of rough plays there for Ambry Thomas. Let's see. Bill says you probably already discussed the topic, but who got the best of the Brandon Ayuk and Fred Warner fight? Now the first one you couldn't really see, they were on the ground, so I don't know who got the best of it. The second one was kind of funny though, because like I said, Fred Warner knocked down Marcus Johnson. Brandon Ayuk gets upset. He kind of goes out there and puts his hands up like he wants to fight, and then next thing you know, somebody from the defense, I think it was Dre Greenlaw, just comes in and just steamrolls somebody, and there's just there's just a big melee of people, and as all these guys are fighting, Fred Warner standing off to the side, getting his butt chewed out by Kyle Shanahan. He's not even in the middle of the fight. He's the guy that started it with the hit. He's not even in the fight, and Kyle Shanahan's chewing him out on the sideline. So that was an interesting, kind of a funny piece about that whole thing with that fight. Was Fred Warner kind of started with a hit, Fred Warner and Ayuk, and neither one of them were really involved with that one. So, the last thing I want to hit on really quick is the last thing I want to talk about really quick is Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo went through his full throwing routine today with the fans in the stands. As the team is out on the field, starting their warm-ups, we're walking out to watch practice, and Jimmy Garoppolo is going through his throwing routine for the rehab on his shoulder on the side field. I don't think it's too fun. I don't think it's all that much of a stretch to say that it probably had to do with the fact that NFL Network was on hand today. And so what better way to pump up the value of Jimmy Garoppolo than have him go through his full, rehab workout, than have the NFL Network cameras there, have Steve Mariucci there to talk about it, have Ian Rappaport there to report about it, and to be able to say, hey, we saw Jimmy Garoppolo throwing, and he looked great, and he was doing this, and he was doing that. Garoppolo didn't look bad. He's throwing against the air. He's just throwing to a stationary target. From what I saw, the bits that I got to see was, acting like he was taking a shotgun play action, about a 15-yard throw over the middle, nice zip on it. Then he did some boots where he was rolling out to his right, throwing on the run, rolling out to his left, throwing on the run, and then he threw some deeper shots later on. All in all, it didn't look like his arm was all that bad. Obviously, there's a process to this, but I think that overall, it was just an interesting piece to see Jimmy Garoppolo out on the field as the 49ers were beginning practice today. That we hadn't seen that before, and like I said, I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that NFL Network was here, and what better way to get the advertisement out to make sure that the league's TV cameras are here, and their biggest mouthpiece, Ian Rappaport, is on hand to be able to share that with everybody across the country, and same with Steve Mariucci, former 49ers head coach. And as far as, like I said, mouthpiece with Rappaport, that's not a shot. It's obvious. Ian Rappaport's one of the best in the business. When I say mouthpiece, when he speaks on NFL Network, everybody listens, and that thing gets retweeted a million times. So that's great for the 49ers today. So that's it. That's all I have. I just want to take a second to say thanks to everybody in the comments section. Thanks to all of you who will be watching this later. If you guys can do me a favor, do a few things for me. I would like you to hit that like button. And then after you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. And then hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell notification so that you never miss a show. Every time we go live, you'll be notified as we go live. And then last but not least, go to 49ers.pressdemocrat.com. Make that a favorite on your web browser. That's where all of my writing shows up. That's what I get paid to do. If you guys could go over there and check those articles out on a daily basis from camp, that'd be fantastic. And as Raphael 5629ers, member of the Toolbox, always likes to say, and he always helps me out. He says, like and subscribe, everyone, before you all head out. Please do so. I want to say thank you all for joining. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. I'll be back with you tomorrow for day 7 of 49ers training camp. Until then, take care, everybody. Have a good night.